Much like defining leadership, defining requirements has taken on so many subjective and self-serving ideas that it's difficult to understand how simple both leadership and requirements gathering is. As we mentioned previously, leadership isn't a definition, it's a function of three elements: who we are, who we're leading, and where our stakeholders need us to go. Requirements are very much a similar way, dependent upon who's telling us what to do. Clean up your room or you won't get any breakfast, or make breakfast before you go outside. All are very simple requirements and all understand them as being so why don't we see requirements as being that easy? Well, because when we're creating something complex like a software operating system, let alone an application that runs on it, or rearing a fellow human being, we're obviously going to have present, but we're also going to have future, let alone past requirements that are simply too numerous to do anything more than summarize in an overarching or guiding way. So obviously we're talking about a requirements gathering process, whether that's agile or waterfall or wagile, which I consider to be something in the middle. The idea of having requirements before we write code is as easy to understand as the need to have a list of things to get from the store before we do our weekly shopping. But just like when we're doing our weekly shopping, there's always things we have to check for because we know we're going to be out of them. And those imperative requirements are usually get bread, get milk, get eggs, or never buy anything with artificial dyes or colors in it, or anything else we know that we always have to do. And those overarching imperatives, whether they're to do or what's taboo or what's missing from more than our software development processes these days. For example, thou shalt not research and develop software in the production environment, or thou shalt be backwards compatible with the features and functions that you delivered into the production system or the mindscape of our customers and clients, or thou must ever have regression testing as well as change management acceptance testing before anything gets released in the production system. These very high-level overarching requirements that, to tell you the truth, I don't see many people paying much attention to because artisans don't like rigor added into any artistic or creative process. It's all fun and games until somebody gets hurt or your company shutters its doors. So being a software developer myself, I know that we do not like to have people tell us what to do, and it's a lot easier to simply start hacking around on production systems. I mean, reductio ad absurdum might work here very well to reduce things to the absurd, saying, what if everybody did it? We don't test things because it's tedious and it slows down the creative juices, and certainly don't like creating regression testing because everything we've created can and now possibly will be used against us. I mean, it all comes down to a lack of having designed things or being unable to design things. And that leads us to another requirement: thou shalt design every major feature, as well as how we plan to test every major feature before writing a single line of code. Not really part of the agile process, and certainly to slow down my fun whenever I'm simply wanting to write code and get paid for doing things in a very unprofessional, selfish, and childish way. So rather than requirements on what we need to do or what we should do, we also need to find the practices that we agree are taboo. So over the years, I've discovered that there are three types of requirements. We have our shopping lists, we have our process requirements, whether we're doing agile, wagile, or waterfall, and then we have our project or company requirements, such as coding standards, rules of engagement, backwards compatibility, code unit system integration, security, scalability, and compliance testing, and the isolation of our production, acceptance, and testing environments from our exploratory or research and development environment, noting that there can be exceptions to every rule, and if we feel like there are going to be exceptions, we simply have to include those in a standard operating procedure. For example, notifying testers and managers whenever we choose to start hacking on the production environment as part of our requirements of things to do as well as not to do, or to define the taboo.